She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a sniper. Just a college student replacing targets at a shooting range. But that morning, when a Navy SEAL threw down his rifle in frustration and she quietly said, "The rifle's fine. You're pulling your shots left," the world seemed to stop. 20 minutes later, that same Navy SEAL team would be watching her, in silence, as she did something none of them expected. This is the story of Sarah Martinez, the young woman who went from range assistant to legend. The sun had barely risen over Oceanside, California. The wind carried the smell of salt from the nearby cliffs, and the rhythmic ping of bullets hitting Spiel targets echoed downrange. For Sarah Martinez, it was just another day at work. At 23, she was juggling nursing school, part-time shifts at the local range, and caring for her father, a retired Marine gunnery sergeant named Miguel Martinez, who'd taught her everything he knew about discipline, patience, and precision. That morning, she'd been warned. The SEALs booked the 500-yard line today. Stay clear, keep quiet. She was used to it. The elite teams came often, training, testing, perfecting. Her job was to replace targets, mark impacts, and stay invisible. But sometimes fate doesn't ask permission to change your life. By mid-morning, the Navy SEALs had been at it for hours. 8 men, focused and precise, except for one. Petty Officer Rodriguez, their newest team member, was having a terrible day. He couldn't land a shot beyond 300 yards. Every round drifted left. His frustration was audible, his pride visibly cracking. "Something's wrong with this rifle," he snapped, jerking the bolt open and throwing it down. Chief Jake Sullivan, their team leader, a calm, sharp-eyed veteran, folded his arms. "Rodriguez, you're flinching again." "I'm telling you, Chief, the sights are off." Sarah was 50 yards away, stacking replacement targets, but she'd seen the whole thing. The breathing, the grip, the panic in his trigger pull. Her father's voice echoed in her head. "A craftsman never blames his tools. Master yourself first." Before she realized it, she said it out loud. "The rifle's fine. You're just pulling your shots left." The range went silent. 8 elite operators turned toward the college girl holding a staple gun. Jake Sullivan's eyebrow lifted slightly. "You think you can do better?" Sarah froze. She hadn't meant to challenge anyone, but backing down now would have been worse. She swallowed hard. "Yes, sir," she said quietly. The chief gave a faint smirk, checking the rifle's chamber. He held it out to her. 500 yards, same wind, same ammo. You hit that steel, lunch is on me. You miss, you explain to my CO why a civilian's on the firing line. The other SEALs chuckled. Rodriguez sneered. Jake just watched, curious. Sarah laid down behind the rifle, her heart pounding like thunder in her ears. Everything around her faded. The jokes, the wind, the waves. It was just her and the target. She adjusted her body, elbows solid, cheeks steady on the stock, breathing slow and deliberate. Inhale, exhale halfway, hold. The rifle cracked. A small puff of dust rose dead center on the steel. Hit. No one spoke. She worked the bolt, fired again, then again. 3 rounds. 1 ragged hole. Jake lowered his spotting scope, and for the first time that morning, he smiled. 3-shot group, 2 inches, dead center. Rodriguez's jaw dropped. That's impossible." Jake looked at her carefully. "Where'd you learn to shoot like that?" Sarah hesitated. "My father taught me. Gunnery Sergeant Miguel Martinez." The name hit like a bolt of recognition. One of the older SEALs let out a low whistle. "Gunny Martinez? The sniper instructor? He trained half the Marine Corps before his injury." Suddenly, the atmosphere changed. Rodriguez looked embarrassed. Jake looked impressed. Guess the apple didn't fall far, one of them muttered. Minutes later, a black sedan pulled up to the range. A tall man in navy dress blues stepped out. Commander Harrison, the SEAL's training oversight officer. He took one look at the group, then at the target still swinging in the wind. "Chief Sullivan, status report." Jake smiled slightly. "Progressing well, sir. We just had a guest demonstration." Harrison studied the grouping through the spotting scope. "Who fired these?" Jake nodded toward Sarah. "Range staff, sir. Miss Martinez." The commander raised an eyebrow. "Martinez. Any relation to Gunnery Sergeant Miguel Martinez?" "Yes, sir. His daughter." Harrison gave a slow nod. "Excellent shot grouping. That's not recreational marksmanship. That's precision-level control." Then, almost as an afterthought, he asked, "Would you be interested in observing some of our advanced sessions?" Sarah blinked. "I'm just a student, sir." The commander's tone softened. "Sometimes the best teachers don't wear uniforms. We can always use fresh eyes." What started as a correction became an invitation. Over the next few weeks, Jake arranged for Sarah to quietly observe their advanced training sessions. She never tried to prove herself. She just watched, listened, and took notes. But soon, even the instructors noticed her insights. She could spot subtle mistakes others missed: a shoulder angle, a bad trigger reset, a wind shift that went unnoticed. During one session, a Marine sniper team was struggling with long-range accuracy under crosswinds. Sarah hesitated, then pointed to a dust pattern near the berm. "There's a second wind layer at 300 yards. It's shifting rounds right." They adjusted, and suddenly the shots started hitting dead center. Word spread fast. The range girl who could read wind like a meteorologist was earning the respect of the most elite marksman in the country. A month later, Commander Harrison pulled her aside. "Miss Martinez, you have a rare combination: skill, observation, and calm under pressure. You ever think about teaching?" Sarah laughed softly. "I'm in nursing school, sir. This is just a part-time job." "Then maybe it's time to think bigger," he said. Soon after, Sarah received an offer from a defense contractor specializing in marksmanship instruction. Better pay, flexible hours, and access to advanced training equipment. It was everything she'd never dreamed she could have. Months later, Sarah Martinez was no longer just replacing targets. She was training the shooters who used them. Her lessons traveled across military units: Marines, Rangers, SEALs, and police snipers, each one learning from the young woman who once stayed quiet at the edge of the range. And sometimes, when a new student made an excuse, she'd smile and repeat the words her father taught her: "A craftsman never blames his tools." Sarah Martinez's story reminds us greatness doesn't always wear a uniform. And sometimes all it takes to change your life is a single moment of courage when someone hands you a rifle and steps aside to see what you can do. This has been another true story of courage and quiet excellence, brought to you by your History Time. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful moments of real human grit and hidden heroism. Because history isn't always written on battlefields. Sometimes it happens quietly on a shooting range when a young woman decides she's ready to take the shot.